wait a minute, this can be a film. So that's what we are showing. The other one is a film that Robin Starbuck, who is also here, she's going to be talking on the panel as well, made, and it's called How We See Water. It's about two girls in Mexico who are doing everything possible to put together a little bit of money so they can get an education, and it's making a huge social change. I mean, in their own environment and way. So these are the two films we're going to watch. And I'm also going to show you a trailer from another feature film, which we're not going to see together. Maybe we should watch that other trailer first, so I figure out this sound business, and then we can go into the other ones. So the film is called Samira's Dream, and it's about a girl in Zanzibar who wants to get an education despite the fact that she is still also aspiring to be a mother and a woman and everything else, but not to sacrifice her education. So let me see. Samira's Dream. I have to share my screen, and I have to make sure it is.
Nora, the other thing you can do is put the link to the trailer in the chat. We can go. I mean, maybe this is just fine.
Yeah, let's
yeah,
do it on the screen.
Well, I can also do that, but I'm trying, I did not see the place where I have to optimize the sound. So I'm going to try to figure it out while this is running. Okay, so there we go. Samira's Dream.
I was commissioned by an Irish foundation to research a documentary on female education.
Nora, if you want me to
soon after I visited
share the
Zanzibar.
screen for you so the sound is a little bit better.
Here's what Samira.
It's hard to hear.
Kwanza nataka nisome kwanza nijue, baadaye ndo halafu nifanye kazi. So kama ndo kila siku nikayapa hapa na wazee wangu, na mimi nataka nijitegemee mimi mwenyewe na niwe na watu wanaonitegemea ambao ni familia yangu. Ndio kuwashirikisha.
She seemed to me the most determined among her friends to pursue a happier life. She knew what she wanted.
Nora, did you hear Devin? She said if you want to share it with her and she'll screen it for you.
But also knew the reality of the life in which she was living.
I want to marry her.
Yes,
of course.
You want to marry him?
Baba kanivunja moyo tena.
Ndio maisha.
Labda kwa pole kunikuta mimi, ndio nilikuta kwamba naendelea tu na masomo.
Nategemea zaidi kae nyumba ambayo itakuwa ina nafasi kwako ili uweze kusoma na kujitawala vizuri.
For 7 years, I followed her life. A long way, full of doubts. Will she give up?
Kweli nawahusudu, kuna watu nawahusudu hasa hususan nipoona wanawake wenzangu wana nafasi kubwa katika jamii. Nikupata yani kujua na kuifahamisha jamii yangu. Natamani yani niwe ni mtu miongoni mwa watu wakubwa. Saa imefika, nitakie heri.
Okay, did that make the sound a little better?
I mean, it wasn't choppy, but it wasn't very clear either.
Yeah, well, I really don't know because I put it optimized video, optimized sound, and I put everything up. And that film was directed by Nino Tropiano. I don't know if Nino is here. I'm trying to see if he is here. I didn't see him. Okay.
No, he's not here.
I don't think so. Okay. All right. So I think we should, without further ado, go into the film, which is, oh, I have it ready. Now we don't have to go into YouTube, so maybe that will make it a little better, how we see water. Let me bring it up on my screen.
Otherwise, if you want to share the link with Devin and have her share it.
Oh, it's not on link, this one. This is from my computer that I'm
Got
going
it.
to.
So let's do the best we can. Maybe you're right. It will be better since it's directly from you.
Yeah.
If we have any trouble, I'd be happy to put the link and password in the chat for people.
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah.
it.
That would be a good opportunity, thing to do.
So
Okay.
Nora, when you hit share screen,
Yeah.
that white screen with all the different boxes that you can choose to share comes up.
Yeah.
The checkbox should be at the bottom of that white box.
Yes, it says optimize for video clip and share sound.
Okay, and they're both clicked?
Yes.
Okay, and then make sure that your computer sound is all the way up as well.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It just wants me to sign in my computer. There you go.
Nora, unmute yourself. Nora, you must unmute yourself.
Yeah. It looks like it froze. Nora, it looks like the film is blocked out for some reason on my screen. Oh, wow.
Seguí viviendo en el centro porque es como la segunda casa de nosotros, ¿no? Acá y luego allá, y entonces pues es como segundo hogar en la cual nosotros nos sentimos bien ahí, sentimos como más sociables con las personas, los turistas, y entonces es algo interesante. Estaría bien combinado los dos. Antes cuando al cielo no se pagaba, era porque el gobierno, el presidente nos daba permiso de sentarnos diario, pero ahora ya no se puede poner diario. Sí se puede, pero es pagado, entonces se paga el piso. Solo nos dijeron que ya no hay permiso y que era mejor obedecer al presidente que tener un conflicto. contacto con él, así, y entonces hubo la descomunicación con ellos y ya no tenían más fuerza para exigirle al presidente que nos respeten como trabajadores. Esto desequilibrió todo.
Aproveche, señora ama de casa. No se quede con los deseos, señora.
Nos levantamos a las 6 de la mañana. Primero lavamos el maíz. Del maíz vamos al molino. Luego ya mi otra hermana hace el fuego. Llegamos nosotros, hacemos las dos la tortilla. A las 7 comemos, que arreglamos, empezamos a trabajar. Días pintamos y días no, y días trabajamos. De ahí pasa la tarde, nos vamos a bañar. De bañar pasa la noche, lavamos la ropa. Ya de la noche miramos una novela y pasa la noche. Viernes levantamos todas las cosas que vamos a llevar. El sábado temprano vamos en San Cristobal. Salimos todo el día a vender. A veces se vende, a veces no. Y si no, solo como 5 o 7 que vendemos también.
Es una estrategia de transformación del desarrollo humano, de diálogo. Solamente así romper.
market in front of Santo Domingo, that expanded into the market you see today. It's now sort of established. You know, people sort of own rights to their plots and things like that, or they certainly feel that way. You know, there's different ways you can approach the market here. Okay, there are 3 different unions in that open market. You can't just walk in there and start selling stuff. Okay, you can walk around the streets. There are 2 kinds. Most of them are women with a lot of inexpensive stuff that's not even made here. And then the other are some women with stuff from the communities, and that's the minority. And they just walk around trying to sell stuff in the street, which is okay. The non-Indians who still run the town, even though now it's half Indian, don't have a clue about those markets. When the World Adventure Tourism Council met in San Cristobal with 3,000 delegates, the town decided they had to clean up the place, so they closed down the artisan market. You know, they're stupid enough, unaware enough, parochial enough to say, oh, that's an eyesore, we'll get rid of that. They really think all of this is just an eyesore. They get married at the age of, ¿cómo te llamas? ¿Tú? Rosa Maria, at the age of Rosa Maria, 15 or even 14 years old, they are already living with a man. And sometimes the man could be 40 years old and she 15. There is no culture for children, big families, as many as they can. 5, 6 children. Unfortunately, at least one of these babies die. If suddenly she is a widower, it's not good because she is not going to get another husband in an easy way. So she must move to other communities. Well, it's an advantage to wear this kind of skirt. For example, when they do the pee-pee, they only sit and that's all. Una pregunta, una vez le pregunté hace tiempo a una chica de aquí que me dijeron que no usaban ropa interior. Depende. Sí, yo creo que ella de alrededor no usa.
Es
sí.
por lo que ellos piensan que al usar eso, por ejemplo, usar el brasier, ellos piensan que ya no viene la leche del materno, o sea, no produce leche. seguir estudiando y tener una carrera, una profesión. Bueno, mi mayor sueño es ser maestra o ser maestra de informática, porque me gusta mucho la tecnología. Pero principalmente están mis estudios, mi profesión, mis negocios, algo así, y tener en un lugar donde vivir. Sí.
What we think we've seen is that children here in Chiapas and San Cristobal are discriminated because of their age. They are girls, they're women. They are discriminated because of their gender. They are discriminated because of their ethnic background. So there's a lot of exclusions and violences and discriminations against children here in San Cristobal, and if they work, there's another prejudice about working children. So yeah, like violence has different faces.
Va a cumplir 15 años el 3 de abril. Somos 6 mujeres y un niño. Mi papá trabaja en el campo y mi mamá trabaja del barro. Por fin nos sentamos a trabajar también. Y mis hermanas igual de la artesanía. Terminar la secundaria creo nomás. Hasta ahí nomás creo. Decimos también porque no hay dinero, que se necesita dinero. Ahorita que tengo los 16 años, me siento muy contenta también que estoy con mis papás y me están dando la oportunidad también que yo pueda salir, pues con un esposo, ya no te dejan salir, bueno, ya vas a estar encerrada para la casa. Y el esposo te tienes que levantar a las 5 de la mañana para hacer la comida, la tortilla. Y ya también la mamá del muchacho, lo que tú vendes o lo que tú trabajas, todo lo vas a entregar con la suegra. Que yo lo que yo vendo le entrego mejor con mi mamá y no con mi suegra. Mi compañera que juntos nacimos, se casó a los 12 años. Sí, y dice que se arrepintió porque está muy chiquita y no se quiere levantar temprano. Y como ahorita están accidentados mis papás, entonces yo los tengo que mirar. Sí, solo es eso lo que yo quiero decir.
proyectos de vida en la cual a veces pienso si logro o no y seguir hasta donde puedo y seguir ayudando a mi familia teniendo las mismas cosas que hacemos, haciéndolo como un proyecto, no solamente así nada más, sino que sea un proyecto reconocido de todo el mundo, o sea, que vean que todas las personas podemos lograr siendo creativos, haciendo cosas en las cuales otros no lo valoran. Es
Hi, everyone. I'm still running it, but I think you can also catch it at this link that I think Robin put in the chat. Unfortunately, the sound is so low, but as it was, a lot of it had to do with subtitles, so I hope people still were able to follow some. Okay, so I think we're gonna go right into the next one, and then we come back and go into the questions. Huri is putting a note here. What a powerful short film, despite the technical issues. Yes, unfortunately, but I think I'm not seeing if Robin put it in the link with the password if somebody wants to view it later. At any rate, it's on at the festival. You can also catch it there if you would like to see it.
Nora, I
Yeah.
think it will also be helpful for everyone to know how long is the next short film, so
Oh,
that
the next one is 35 minutes.
okay, because we have till 12:30, I think, or
Yeah, well, actually, it's scheduled until 1. I know you have to leave at 12:30.
Okay.
So I'll play it, and then if you have to leave, I understand.
Okay.
So we're going to, yeah. Okay, so let's not, let's just go on with it.
So Nora, I just put the link in the chat now. So
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I am sharing my screen with this one. Share screen, iMigrant woman. Hopefully the sound will be better since they're directly talking into the camera. So there we go.
Does one have to belong to a place to be a person? Every day, I try to learn new words in this language, but I always end up forgetting them the next day. Perhaps I don't commit myself enough. People expect this from someone like me. They think that the foreigner who escapes from her own country in search of her dream should at least make an effort to form a proper sentence. I mumble and I stumble over words as if they were stones. When I'm lucky, the words bounce off my tongue like pebbles off my palate. I want my reality. The one the scrap metals of war shattered. One sad and dreadful day. I'm royalty in this lush land where people are friendly until they hear the limping accent in my voice and stare at me from head to toe with suspicion. Accent is a bloody comma in the absurd prose of life. The comma slows down the dialogue and a possible understanding of an equal exchange. I am foreign to these places. And now I am foreign to myself. Yet I persist in denying my incapacity to find a path for my new existence. Is a place necessary to make a homeland? Is a homeland necessary to make a person? Is it not enough for the body to feel in order for it to belong to a place? Oh, it is late. I must refrain from these thoughts before I drive myself crazy. I must put this suffering to bed and get some sleep. What do you want? They asked me more than once. These words had an enchanting sound to them. To want. Fill the mouth with desire. As if the slightest possibility existed for the mind to believe that if the mind thinks, there may be a chance it could obtain the desired object. What do you want? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want? They asked me every day as they came to the neighborhood to convince me to leave. So I left. They are still asking, what do you want? Only now to somebody else. My sweet Bola, I miss that dimple in your chin. Here, I see nothing but helmets and dust everywhere. I know this separation has been given to us to make us stronger, to become better persons in front of the children we'll raise one day in our beautiful country. Have faith. Yours, Kofi. Oh, Bola. Gullible girl. When they asked me back home, I should have known it was too good to be true. And do you want an important job? Do you want a comfortable house to live in with Kofi, with your parents and with your future son? Do you want a salary that allows you to buy the nicest clothes you've ever imagined? Do you want a secure life? Do you want to live like all the women do in countries where the sun rises? Do you want these tickets, Bola? And they handed me a paper to board the ship. It had Bola Bolanli written on it. But I could never have known then that those were only the letters of an alphabet I would struggle so hard to learn. Come on, Bola. You cannot deny you are living the life every woman your age would want in your shattered country. I never write to Kofi what I'm really doing here. He thinks I'm helping Anna Maria as a hairdresser in her salon. I read the name on an advertisement for learning the profession. And as soon as the war is over and there's a ceasefire, Kofi will sell our small house and join me here. Then we'll buy a shop. We'll rent one, just ours. What do I want? When I was a young girl, they taught me to never want what I can never get. To want is a sin, Bola. To want is a sign of weakness, they said. So I've never even known what I want for myself. To want to dress elegantly. To want a house to live in with enough space for my parents. To want a fixed salary. To not feel a foreigner. To want a secure life. To want a leather sofa for the new house. To want a new dress to look fashionable. To want a driving license to move all over. To want a car to move with my friends. To want a phone to call my relatives back home. To want Kofi to give me the diamond ring. To become what I am not. Yes. I dreamt all of this. I was dreaming all of this together with Kofi before he left. We were sitting on an old sofa at the corner of a street. We found it had been discarded as something useless. So we took it and cleaned it and covered it with a new material. Most nights we would lay on it, listening to the radio, and talking about our dreams. So many dreams. We had it all organized. Kofi said, while I'm at war, you go and learn how to cut hair. So I'm here now, and I've learned how to sell my body. Because there are many who know how to cut hair. Why would they want another one? And a foreigner at that. I'm royalty in this lush land, where everyone is friendly until they hear the limping accent in my voice and stare at me with suspicion. Every day I try to learn new words in this language, but I always end up forgetting them the next day. When I am lucky, words are pebbles that slip off the tip of my tongue and bounce off my palate. I talk little. It is not necessary to talk for what I do. The body takes care of it. He knows his language well. What do you want? They asked me. An important job, a luxury house, a high salary, a secure life. In Nigeria, the life of a queen is idleness. But here, life is like an empty promise for one that desires to be a queen. I want. Now I know what it means to want, because I understand for the first time what one can want for oneself. And I am living a life. To fulfill our dream, I've ended up living a nightmare. It's not worth it. The suffering that comes with what I have to do is unbearable. But I can heal my wounds because I know what I want now. I want to be the Bola of before, Kofi's wife, and the queen of my household. Yes. I want to be the Bola of before, Kofi's wife, the queen of my household, a mother. I want to be Kofi's wife, the queen of my household, a mother, a hairdresser, yes, an honest job. I want to be Kofi's wife, the queen of my household, a mother, a hairdresser, and a woman with a kente dress and a matching head wrap. I don't like the clothes they wear here. I want to be Kofi's wife, the queen of my household, a mother, a hairdresser, and a woman with a tailored kente dress and a matching head wrap. Simply Bola.
I say, thank you, madam. Yes, madam. Welcome, madam. And today, the comedy is over. I've learned it soon enough. I had to. It was necessary. It was important. Important to me to build a small house to live in. I may, my dear ones, remained in the village, and for me it's okay. It's not so heavy, not so humiliating, as my fellow countrywoman would say. For them, it is so tiring. Maybe it is, but not for me. For them, it is boring, and sometimes it can be. It's like when you have a headache and you see the plates flying like kites.
I say, thank you, madam. Yes, madam. Welcome, madam. How many times many? How many? 7, 10, sometimes 13. Madam never goes out. Her legs don't allow her to walk. Alina, open the curtains, it's too dark. Alina, bring my tea. Alina, answer the phone. Alina, put back my needlework. Alina, now it's too warm, open the window.
I say, thank you, madam. Yes, madam. Welcome, madam. How many times? Many. How many?
Sometimes 13. Madame never goes out. 2 of my aunts are like Mrs. Castaldi. They don't realize that their minds have trapped them like
a time capsule. So whatever they say, they think it is the right thing. They are right. What they think is necessary at that moment. Madam is kind. For my birthday, she gave me a wine-colored leather handbag.
I save it for when I go to church on Sundays with my family in San Lucas. It is true where I come from. The houses are made of tin plates and the roads are dirt roads. A handbag like this will look out of place. But I work enough for the bricks and the paint so that I'll go to live in San Lucas, a nice area.
Just 10 kilometers from the village. There, the houses are made of brick. They also have kiosks where they sell milk and bread, so you don't need to walk too much, and your shoes last longer. Then I'll go to the church with the leather handbag Mrs. Popescu gave me.
Mr. Castaldi. He also goes out a little, but he speaks little. He lives in a world of his own among his newspapers and piles of letters. At 10 o'clock sharp, he asked me to go downstairs to the concierge and bring up the post. Quick, Elena, I am in the news. Yes, sir, coming, sir, thank you, sir, and I run. Then, when I come back upstairs, Mrs. Castaldi asked me where I have been. When I try to explain, she gets edgy. It is the same every day.
Mr. Popescu. He also goes out little, but he speaks little. He lives in a world of his own among his newspapers and pile of letters. Yes, sir, coming, sir. Thank you, sir. And I ran. Then, when I'm back upstairs, Mrs. Popescu asks me where I have been, and when I try to explain, she gets edgy.
I say, thank you, madam. Yes, madam. Welcome, madam. It's my song, but soon I'll forget it because I will go back home and I will no longer be in need to sing any rhymes just because someone expects that from me. I will sing the songs I knew before coming here. ¿Por qué vienes tú tan triste? ¿Qué quieres decir? La vida puede ser simple, no hay por qué sufrir. La vida puede ser simple, no hay por qué sufrir. Bullerengue, bullerengue, ese es el apellido. Bullerengue, bullerengue, ese es el apellido. La vida puede ser simple, no hay por qué sufrir.
Drumurile noastre poate se vor întâlni vreodată. Drumurile și iubirea.
In my country, the songs are joyful. They have the taste of the bullerengue. It's okay. I don't feel homesick. I don't feel so emotional as many of my compatriots. I say, yes, madam. Thank you, madam. Welcome, madam. How many times many? How many? 7, 10, sometimes 13.
To me, it's okay. It's not a problem. You get used to it. In the street, when you think the refrain would not be necessary anymore, people ask something.
On the bus. Can I have this seat? My back is hurting. Yes, madam. At the supermarket. I am in a hurry. Can I go before you? Please, madam. At the dairy. Give my regards to Mrs. Castaldi. Thank you, madam. I am no longer myself. I belong to Mrs. Castaldi. I'm aware of it, but it's okay. At night, I write letters to my queridos that the bricks are increasing one by one. I count them every night. I write them in a notebook. For 3 years, I have been marking them with a red felt tip pen so that one day when my house is finished, I will look back at these evenings and nights spent counting the bricks for my house, our house. Juan, Ramon, Sarita, our house. Patience. I was born with patience. I was raised with a sense of waiting without complaining. I have never seen patience as a necessity of that moment. It's just there, inside me. I know how to wait. Otherwise, I would have never come here without knowing how long it would be till I have the monies for all the bricks and the paint to build my house. It must be solid construction, not like the houses where I grew up, where the wind can sweep away if it gets a little crazy.
Gina, the concierge, always asks me why I don't go IMA, my dear ones, to come here and live a better life. But I tell her, I only came here for the bricks and the paint, not to live here. And she asks why. I tell her that at my age, you don't think of changing life like a pair of shoes. And while I work here, Radu studies as a mechanic, and Wana attends dressmaking school. When I go back, I'll buy a sewing machine for her. She writes to me that when she'll become a dressmaker, she will dress all the girls in the village.
So they don't look so poor anymore.
I say, yes, madam. Thank you, madam. Welcome, madam.
Ramon will commute to the city. He will repair the cars for the rich people. With traffic being so high, accidents are now frequent. I say, yes, madam. Thank you, madam. Welcome, madam.
I started when I hadn't reached the age of love. Because in my country, when you reach the age of love, you are considered women for all intents and purposes. But in my country, women for all intents and purposes are the ones who make love, who serve their men, who satisfy them, who listen, who obey, who give birth to a new life, who take care of it, who teach respect, who work. Yes, they are the ones who work too, but without thinking too much with their own mind. I hadn't reached the age of love yet, but in my mind, I was thinking until the dead of the night, until all lights turned off. From the corner of my bed, I was looking at my thoughts flying and flowing on the walls, lit only by the reflected light. I used to see the traces of my stories going through the pictures, the sculptures, the stories written first in the mind, then by the hand. The plots would slip off very fast, but my eyes would follow them before they dissolved themselves in the arc of light, which at certain moment would cross them. I used to keep my stories secret. They were mine, only mine. No one would have understood them. No one would have appreciated them. No one would have listened to them. Perhaps others think my stories are banal. Can we define the truth as banal? Or maybe it's the strain of having to reflect, to think, to feel that something is not normal makes it uncomfortable. All of this is about diversity. The difference between a camel and a virus, even though insignificant and invisible, the virus have the same presence. You just have to try harder to see it. Do you want to know about my writing? It's from there that everything started. It's through it that I was born. I write for my mother and father, who don't know and never wanted to know who I am. I write for you, Kamal, to tell you that my mind is different than yours, and that it's only mine, and that you can't hold it hostage whenever you wish. I write to tell you that my body is different from yours. I write to remember where I come from. I write to not forget what I want. I write to draw a path to follow. I write for my country so it can understand itself better after reading my words. I write for the women who live there and don't know an elsewhere like I do. I write to release this silence that violates my soul. I write to reveal the meaning of my words on the paper, because behind that ink, there is a substance. Is that a language, the place of symbolic exchange? Atoms. Atoms moving in perpetual motion until there is life. I write for the mouth that cannot speak. I write for the eyes that cannot see. I write for the ears that cannot hear. I write for the hands that cannot function. I write to render a different story. I write to weave in the piece of crumbling memory that won't include us, because not knowing who we are is a punishment. Not knowing what there was before makes it difficult to create the present. Nobody leaves you in peace because they are afraid you might create a new power for yourself. I write to be the stranger, not the foreigner. I write for you, so you can recognize yourself in my diversity. I write to tell about the other. I write to tell about myself. I write to tell about it. I, women.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird don't sing, Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring. A song tells about earth burned by the sun, about stained bloody sheets hung outside in celebration, about words locked up in silence under dark layers of boredom, about deeds performed behind the drapes of a curtain.
It is my land that wants me to be different, not for my real difference, but only to impose on me its own dress code, covering my entire body, wrapping me up as the wind wraps the foliage of trees. I write.
I write about women. The rose of the desert rolls from northwest, cradled by the warmth of the wind, arrives at my feet with its little thorns to tell me that time goes by through sleeping and waking of hundreds of dim eyes. It is the hourglass of curious people, of a few vigilant souls who know the direction of the wind and wait for someone to bring them a message. I write to
the ones who cannot and who do not want to listen.
I write to the ones who wear the veil and to the ones who want to remove it.
I write to the ones who want to keep the veil and who want to start the conversation.
I write to the ones who do not know the difference. I write to the ones who are not born yet to tell them who we are.
I write to the women wrapped in their hijab as a shroud of history. I write to the ones who cannot fake. I write to the masses in delirium, the ones who pray to a different God.
I write to the merchant of lies who wants me to be silent. I write to the daughter that I do not have, to tell her I am already listening to her. I write to you who only see me concealed by curtains of strong minds. I write, I, woman.
I waited at the doorway to see from where, under distant suns, the thread came to weave this thin cloth that I'm wearing now. I could only see horizon obscured by fog. I looked at my clothes in their drawer, motionless, waiting for my hand to breathe life into them. I imagined where those clothes would go and which unknown body would wrap them around it, but I saw that they have been locked away in a wardrobe, the key to which was thrown away, that there was no way to open it, that it had been kept in a prison, that it had been forced to not exist. So I wore it. I wore it in order to make it come alive.
I don't want the dream. Now, I will build the dream myself. Bola. 4 letters that sum up all that I want to be. You will get, I will shop. And Kofi will buy me the best scissors and hair dryers, imported from Italy.
Soon I'll have all my bricks and then it will be enough for me to write a Christmas card. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Popescu, it will say. And on the envelope where it says sender, I will write Mrs. Alina Bogdan, Craiova, Romania.
I say, yes, madam. Thank you, madam. Welcome, madam. It's my song. I recite it every day. How many times? Many. How many? 7, 10, 13. I don't know anymore. But soon I'll have all my bricks and it will be enough. Enough for me to write a Christmas card. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Castaldi, it will say. And on the envelope where it says sender, I will write Mrs. Alina Molinas, San Lucas, Medellin, Colombia.
Today, my stories, the ones that used to penetrate the walls at night in my room, aren't secret anymore. They are for everyone. They are for all people. Because keeping them secret, as I once did, impoverished me and other women's existence. Someone finally is reading what I write in this space between here and there.
This space between you and me is my identity, my memory, my history, my diversity.
You are as you are. Different, but the same. Because you are different.
As I am.
there we go. The films are done. So I welcome everyone. I welcome our panelists. I applaud the actors, some of whom are here with us. I applaud Robin for her wonderful film. And I also want to announce at this point that Robin's film, How We See Water, is one of the finalists for the Vanya Exerjan Award. So you'll find out tomorrow at the awards ceremony. What is the Vanya Exerjan Award? It is an award I created in my cousin's name, as I had told you earlier in the event. The Vanya Exerjan Award of the Socially Relevant Film Festival is in the memory of my cousin, and it's usually selected by me and I give it out to a film that really touches me from the point of view of advocating to stop violence against women and girls or empowering women and girls. So the film is one of the nominees for that award. So I open the floor. I know Huri doesn't have much time and she needs to go, but everybody please come on and let's have an informal discussion. I am seeing myself at the top. I don't know if everybody's seeing the same way. Next to me is Huri and Robin and Valentina. So this is really cool that the panelists are all there in a row. I don't know if everybody's screen is showing the same way. And Samar is here. I can see her. I don't know if any of the other actors are here. I'm trying to look to see. No, I don't see anybody else. Okay, so please feel free to ask questions. I have a lot of messages here in the chat, but they might not all be. Really like very powerful. Thank you for sharing the films. Thank you for producing these meaningful films. Really like the woman who spoke about her bricks and paint. Very, very interesting. Very socially relevant films. Congratulations, Robin. Wonderful, well done. Thank you so much for wonderful, insightful, and courageous films. I think we can save this chat, right? And people can save it and then can read it later at their own pace.
Absolutely. Nora, let me just jump in, and I just want to make a couple of comments before I leave. And I wish I could stay for the discussion, but obviously you can see how much people appreciate this session and sharing of these stories. I actually wanted to chat with Robin for a second. First of all, I know I said that in the chat that it really is a powerful film, and you know, even with the glitches of the sound and the small screen, it was very moving for me. The one thing that really stood up for me is just the misinformation and that, you know, rural women get, and how one of the reasons why we do what we do at CSW, NGO CSW Forum, is really to educate, right? To spread the word of what is the truth. For example, wearing a bra will prevent breastfeeding, you know, and I know that from like old wives' tale, we call it, you know, your grandmother tells you stuff about how to sit in a bathroom stall is like whatever. But we need to really keep educating and figuring out ways of bringing this information. And obviously when they don't have access to school, that's also difficult, when they don't have access to internet to learn about some of these things. But one other comment I wanted to make before I let you respond on your experience of filming this and what drove you, what really inspired you to do this, is that when I think it was the two sisters talking, and she was talking about how her 12-year-old friend was married, and what she was complaining about mostly was getting up at 5 a.m. And I thought, she's even too young to process that there's more damage being done to her than just waking up early. The fact that, you know, it's rape, you know, to be married to anybody at that age, and you know, it's marital rape. You know, I don't know, is she, you know, aware of, you know, her sexual rights? which is obviously extreme at this point when we talk about from the Western point of view and how they're growing up. I understand where I'm coming from with this. So I thought that was also quite interesting. I'll hand the floor over to Robin.
No, thank you, Ori. Yeah, it's stunning. And in San Cristobal, especially, I was an artist in residence there. I was there to make sculpture actually for a performance, and then decided to make a film, and then spent 4 years making this little film. And the way that I work is very poetic, and so I drop down information, but then don't excavate that information. So thank you for picking up on that. It was really important to me that to somewhere get into the film the age that these girls are marrying and the end of their education. And for me, I'm sorry, and all of that is happening under the nose of a lot of tourism there. So the naivete of the indigenous women in that area is something also that tourists kind of feed on in a certain way. So it's a problem, right? But for me, what I always think is that education is about information, but it's also about developing a critical mind. So Rosa, the other young woman who says this about this belief of the bras and is, a little bit critical of the tour guide, which is why I put the crow animation in there to critique what he's trying to say. She has a much different perspective and says, oh, some of these people believe this, but I don't believe that. And it's really very much about education, about being able to question the truisms. The problem we're having right now is that I was meant to screen the film in Mexico last summer and couldn't because of COVID. Juana, who talks about her young friend who got married so young in this very, as you said, this very sweet and very naive way. Her mother has since died and her father is very ill. And so she is taking care of the entire little family. As I said, seven kids in the family. And so I'm a little bit anxious to go and see what's happening now. My concern was that they would be married off because age 11 is not unusual for that to happen. And her life would be taken over by her aunt and uncle who would be interested in selling the children off in this way. So yeah, it's a problem.
Horrible.
So I'm hoping that's not true, but there are subsequent films to be. I'm interested to see what's happening with education in that area now, post-COVID or COVID, whatever.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. And I'm going to go. Thank you so much, Nora. But
thank you, Uri.
So important to, even you as a student, an art student there, for you to notice it and to bring the stories to the rest of the world. And that's the whole idea. So thank you so much. Enjoy.
Thank you, Uri. Bye. And I'm also reading some questions here. I guess it's a question addressed to me because it says, Ruth Brody Sharon says, how did you find the actresses for the film we just saw? Okay, that's a very good question. And I'm going to address that as the director of iMigrant Woman. As you can tell, they are actresses, but when I watched the film, the recording again, I felt, oh my God, they almost look like they could be the real people, as though it's in a documentary and they are being interviewed and they are telling about their lives. Well, I auditioned them. I put out a notice, and this was not just in the United States, but because, as I said, the first person, Bola, the girl who plays Bola, is in London. The two girls who say, yes, madame, of course, madame, and they are, one is in Los Angeles, the Colombian woman is in Los Angeles, and the Romanian woman is in Chicago. And then the two authors, the two writers, which are kind of our playwright's character, that's how Valentina was describing it, and then I'll have her say something about that. One of them, Samar, the first one, is in Princeton, and the second one is in Louisville, Kentucky. So the way it was possible for me to bring all these people together was because I put out a casting notice on international platforms, and I got a lot of submissions. And of course, I had asked for I had sent out little monologues from bits from the play for them to record, to self-tape and send back. And the ones who stood out were these. And technically, I only needed 3 characters. But because I couldn't say yes or no to either the two, the Romanian and the Colombian the actresses who played the Romanian and the Colombian characters, I said, okay, I'm going to have one do it in one way and the other in another way. And also with the writer. Samar and Rita split the role, and we decided that Samar is the author who is still an immigrant, or maybe the foreigner in the country, because she has an accent, she still is the Middle Eastern, whereas the character that Rita was portraying is a 3rd generation immigrant who's kind of not speaking with an accent anymore, but it's the same issues and the same themes that are preoccupying her. So maybe I'll turn over to Valentina here and tell her to say us something about the origin of the play and how this whole thing came about, and what did she think about the way it transitioned until here.
Thank you, Nora. Yeah, sure. What I can say is that I wanted to challenge this notion of identity, this basically, and also, you know, in the immigrant experience. I've been an immigrant all my life, and of course with privileges, so I could just take the plane and go wherever I wanted, differently than from other women like Bola, for example, that you understand from the script that she doesn't, you know, she cannot, I mean, she has to go in a very raw way, as we experience and we see every day in the news. So, and this is also a concern. That's why the play, for me, it's very, I mean, it speaks to this time also, because it makes me think how can we embrace a conversation around the right to travel for immigrants, because actually there's no right to travel. You know, in the 70s, for example, if I think about Europe, in the 70s, there were more restrictions worldwide, more frontiers, more borders, but it was, you know, people from, even from this part of Africa where I'm now, from the Horn of Africa and from East Africa and from West Africa as well, could travel to Europe to study, to work by plane. So they didn't have to, you know, being smuggled or trafficked or whatever. Nowadays, that there is a little bit more freedom and the borders are a little bit more open, there is this impossibility of guaranteeing the right to travel. And I think it should be a right to travel for any migrant and refugees who not only seek, I mean, not only are running away from war or famine or whatever, but also to get and to seek for an education. So I think that, you know, even countries, Western countries, they should think about building bridges and links so that these people can travel without being considered criminal and without sponsoring the mafia that brings these people at the cost of their life most of the time. So I wanted to challenge identity and through language. You know, everything we live, all our experience, all our life, everything is negotiated through language. So, and you have seen also the steps of the language. You know, in the first monologue, you see language is an obstacle, and the second one is like a childish rhyme that helps Alina to survive and to make her, you know, that period of, you know, being far away from home something bearable. And the third one is the acquisition, the knowledge, the information, is the owning the word, owning the language, to you know, to speak about our identity. And of course, identity here is like my questioning was, do we have just one identity? And of course, this migrant experience of these 3 women they understand that there are multiple identities through the migrant experience, and this is very important because at that point it is true that they think, let me return, and this one of course is not, it has been voluntarily left in suspension, this issue of returning, because we don't know what is going to happen and if they will return and how they will return, because actually it's a contradiction itself. No one never returns to the place, even your original place. It's always a new journey. It's always a new going to a new place, because in that gap of time, once you were away, not only the country has changed, but yourself have changed. So it's, and so identity for me is like this women, and of course, Farida encompasses the whole three stories. She says it beautifully, that we embrace and we encompass multiple identities. We cannot think about belonging only to one identity, to one culture, to one experience, but we are multiple. And these women, they experience this and they realize, they acknowledge this one through the migration, through the migrant experience. So basically, I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yeah, thank you. That was very eloquent. You summed it up beautifully. And I have some people here who are putting further remarks that really illustrate what you just said. For example, Robin, oh, okay, that's a bit personal. Okay, yes, it's important to tell these stories. And Nina, I think further up, she said something about the song, the Romanian song, excellent monologues depicting the challenges and realities of refugees and trafficked women. That Romanian song, Drumurile noastre sigur, is what she used to sing when she was isolated in West Africa, and it kept her there and kept there against the wishes of her father. The stories spoke to her heart, and they spoke to my heart. Every time I look at these, I get, teared up, because even though I pretty much know it by heart by now, it's still very, very powerful. And Nina is saying further down, as a writer, she especially liked the use of the writing as a form of healing, of the breaking of the silence. And it's an effective way of spotlighting the importance of constructing the identity of the migrant woman. Brava. So brava, Valentina, first of all, for providing this wonderful script. Of course, I took my liberties with it and changed your characters. The first one is supposed to be Albanian and now is Nigerian. The second one is supposed to be Filipina and now she is Romanian and Colombian. And the third one is Farida. It's very broad Middle Eastern, and I made her Middle Eastern. I think Samar is Lebanese. So, but a Middle Eastern woman pretty much covers the entire Middle East.
But
So,
this tells you that the stories are all universal. So, they speak to each and every one of us.
exactly. That's why I felt it was okay. And it's not particularly Romanian or Filipina or this. On the contrary, the more different characters we include, and the more these monologues are pronounced by different women from different walks of life, the more it's a testimony of the universality of the script, of the writing in it, because it can apply to anyone. And like you say, I myself have traveled so much. I've changed 18 or 19. This is my 19th. I made a film not too long ago, a short, which is called Moving Stories. And it's about two women who are moving. One who has lived in the same apartment for 40 years and then has to move on. And the other, which I was playing, who has been moving 18 times in her life, suddenly is coming to settle down somewhere, and how they are meeting in the middle of, this crossing of the move. And as a person who has lived in so many different places, I also, in my own share, have felt out of place, have felt like, because of the accent, because of not belonging, because of the way you look, there's always a situation where you don't belong. But as yesterday we were also talking in the panel that was particularly on migration and immigration, we were addressing the fact that a lot of times it's the economically underprivileged immigrant that is the one who is paying the highest price, both in prejudice and discrimination and being the refugee. But there are a lot of immigrants who are very rich, who have Swiss bank accounts, multiple passports, they travel the world, they're still immigrants, they still don't belong anywhere, but for some reason, that kind of non-belonging, it's more like the jet set and, oh, I don't belong anywhere, but I belong everywhere, sort of thing. Whereas these poor women who have no other choice, she has to work for the bricks and she has to sell her body. And the third one has to write to make her voice heard. That's a completely different story. So let me see if Robin wants to interject and say something. Please, Robin.
Oh no! If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Yeah. Well, everybody, feel free. You don't have to write your questions. Oh, Ruth is saying, like the evolution of the vagina monologues, it would be wonderful to see this performed by different women everywhere, especially now in the US when there is so much anti-immigration sentiment. That's a great suggestion, Ruth. I would love that. I'm sure Valentina would love that too. And we could even add different stories to that, because I know Valentina writes extensively about female genital mutilation as well, and she has another play which particularly treats that topic. And I was thinking that there could be different topics as well. It doesn't only have to be about immigrants. This one is about immigrants, and we can use this format of monologues and coming out and telling the stories, and then one after the other. It could be a series that on Netflix or something that people can binge on, and they go, oh, what's the next monologue? And they come and watch it.
I invited you, Nora, and I did it intentionally here in the chat because
I want everybody to know.
Okay. Well, just because I think it is the kind of play that students, we happen to have a very good theater program, some schools do, but that students performing it and students watching it, need to understand what it means, what migration means, what immigration means. And I think these are such important stories. It's a lovely way to do it. So there's this participatory learning that goes on.
I would love to. Yeah, let's talk about how we can make that a reality. I mean, the idea is to bring it to the biggest number of audiences everywhere. I'm sure Valentina would agree with that. By the way, it's been translated into, the original is in English. I did the original is in Italian. I did the English translation. I also did the French translation. And Valentina has already got the Spanish translation. So she's hoping that we would be able to publish it as a collection of the different languages. So it would be accessible to people who can perform it in different languages. So if anybody wants to jump in and translate it to yet another language or help us promote it and publish it, please take contact with Valentina. Maybe you can put your contact, Valentina, in the chat.
And I think Nina had a question.
Thank you so much. Yes, I actually have some comments. I want to thank all of you for what you have done, and this has been really very meaningful. I am actually a SOAR optimist from Los Angeles, but currently in Romania. And I have just visited the refugee center in northeastern Romania. And I was invited for International Women's Day to an event that was organized by the center in collaboration with different organizations. And I had the opportunity to meet women from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Syria, in freezing Romania. This is just unbelievable, and sat and spoke with them. And one of the things, I'm a FGM survivor, and I was able to escape FGM from my father's country in West Africa, Sierra Leone. And I wrote a book about that. So I encouraged, and I'm an activist, an anti-FGM activist, and I encouraged the women at the refugee center to write their experiences, to use this time and put on paper with a pen what is it that they are feeling. I spoke with some of their children. As you might imagine, it's not very easy to enter a refugee center that is operated by the government in European Union. So it was a challenge in itself, but luckily we were very fortunate to kind of collaborate through different organizations. And when I did tell them about the writing, they didn't understand that. So I specifically connected with that part of the monologue and how it helps build identity, because I'm originally Romanian. When I was in Africa, also because of lack of being able to speak English, I used poetry. Tomorrow is International Day of Poetry. I used poetry, and I used just my pen and my thoughts as a 13-year-old girl to write what I felt. And then later I built on that and I came up with my book. So I was encouraging the refugees, and it took some time for them to understand that they actually have this power, and that through writing in their language, they're actually processing and reflecting on their experience, because there is so much fear and there is so much confusion associated with that. And fortunately, I should be able to, I will be here for some time, and I will be able to work with them. So I'll be very happy to share more information.
That is so interesting. Thank you, Nina, for sharing that. Laura is saying, I'm from Kansas and lived in Venezuela for a year, going there with my husband for his work. What a revealing comment, Nora, saying that the highest price is paid by the ones who are economically disadvantaged. I wasn't in that category, though. I had a lot of pebbles in my tongue in trying to communicate with the locals. It was a great experience, through though very hard. Yes, it's true, you know, every immigrant has their own experience, but somehow at the lowest end of the spectrum we see the people who are economically disadvantaged. And yesterday we were talking with the filmmakers who were assessing the situation in countries where it's obviously the case, you know, when people are coming with a lot of money, investing in a business or putting it in the bank and so on and so forth, even if they are immigrants and with an accent, don't speak the language and belong somewhere else, they are treated differently than the other film that was about the immigrant people in the streets of Paris selling statues of the Eiffel Tower, and that they have to scramble everything, put it in a bag and run away because the police comes and busts them and they are illegal. So that experience is completely different from the businessman who moves to Paris with his family and a big chunky bank account. So yeah, definitely. Let me see.
Can I say two things, Nora?
Yes, of course.
First, I wanted to say something to Nina. You are doing a great job, because storytelling not only is powerful, but storytelling also not only helps women to understand and also to break, you know, the stigma and all the taboo around FGM, because it's actually a stigma and a taboo pretty much all over the world. But it also helps them to realize that FGM, they are not FGM. I mean, they are not there. I mean, they don't have to identify with that one. I mean, they try to transform it through writing, because that is very important. They don't have to identify with what happened to them. And this is one of the key points of all the women FGM survivors I've been working with, is that at one point you need to be confident that you are not the experience that happened to you. I mean, you are not the, you know, the victim. Okay, you can say you are the survivor, but so storytelling is so powerful. And so you are doing a great job. And I've been working with refugees immigrants for over 25 years, so I have been, you know, working with many kind of stories. But I saw, and this will be very nice to listen, I saw someone, because it's nice also to see, you know, the playwright and the director, but someone asked, what how did it feel, and what did Samar felt being an immigrant herself to act this role? And this I'm very curious to
Yes,
know
I was
about
going
that.
to come to that. So
I
the
anticipated
question,
you.
yes.
Sorry.
Well, who is moderating? I don't know, but it's okay. I would like to ask Samar, it says, Tammy Mendez, what it was like to be part of this important message about migration. Well, obviously, as a director, let me say that the reason why actors get cast a little further up, it was asked, in this type of production, it's not just because they are a great actor and they look the part. You also want to get someone who knows the story, who knows the background, who can identify with it. So it's not an accident that Samar is cast in that part. That's my point of view. But if Samar is around and she wants to briefly reflect on that, Samar, are you around?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know if you can see me.
Okay. Yeah. So, what would about what touched you upon about this experience playing this migrant playing about the migrant?
Well, this means a lot to me. First, I want to say I'm so grateful and honored that I work with you and Valentina, because you represent like a true image of a brave, intelligent, artistic woman who's trying to open and generate conversation to bring the world together and bring us closer. And that's something I've been struggling with since I left Lebanon to Europe, and then from Europe to America. So just like you, I had to find my place, and also it was hard as an actress to come to America in the 90s because of all the reasons. So the best way was for me to express myself is through acting and through a specific production that address issues exactly like that. So when I read the script, it shook me to the core, and I still, like, I was so passionate about it. It's reflect my story and other people's story, because the struggle and the conflict that immigrant women in this country and the whole world is very much under presented, especially in the media. So I'm very happy that I'm using myself as an actress in an artistic way, especially because I'm a peace activist, to bring awareness and open a conversation about this. Yeah.
Thank you, Samar. We all have to do our own little share. Like, in this particular case, I'm wearing the director hat. In the case where I'm organizing, we have 63 films from 33 countries, as I said earlier. And I take pride and I spend sleepless nights. You can imagine what organizing something like that might mean, even though compared to what NGO CSW does, hats off. Like, they have 25,000 delegates, 800 parallel events. We're nowhere near that. But even so, I am working 24/7, but it's with a lot of pleasure. What gets me going is the desire to offer the platform to the filmmakers who are telling these fantastic stories that are very, very important, that need to be heard, and that otherwise, without a platform like this, or without the platform that NGO CSW offers us, these stories will never be spoken about or heard. Because let's face it, the big film festivals, they go around and collect the films that are doing commercially well, the films that have stars in them, the films that have star directors in them. And they are not necessarily concentrating only on the real human interest stories. Sometimes we get lucky and it happens that a star studded film or a star directed film does also address a social issue, then bingo, it's fantastic. But a lot of times that's not the case. So that's why I take special pride that we have the Socially Relevant Film Festival now in its 8th year. And I hope we can continue like this, because it's very important to hear these stories. Let me see. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? You don't need to write it down and take your time in typing and all that. Just pop up and ask. We'll be more than happy to hear from you. We have 2 more minutes because we have until 1 o'clock. And actually, they tell me that they let the panel run extra 10 minutes and then it suddenly cuts off. So I don't want to be the police and say at exactly 1 we're going to cut off, but I have another live broadcast we have another one at 2:30, which is broadcast directly on our YouTube channel, and I have to prepare for that, but that's fine. We can take a little extra time. Anybody wants to ask a question? Let me open gallery so I can see everybody who is here.
I don't have a questions, but I want to share something. In Lebanon, the first day of spring, it's a Mother's Day because it represents giving birth to new life and to new hope. And not only to mothers who give birth, to the nature of nurturing and empowering. And just, I want to say to each one of you, happy spring and happy Mother's Day. I just salute each one of you. I'm very grateful I'm part of this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for remembering, Samar. Actually, I just prepared an e-blast that's going out to the festival, which says tomorrow it's spring, is spring actually. And our closing awards night is tomorrow, and everybody is invited. When you go to our website, which I put in the chat, I'll put it again so it's all the way at the bottom. You go to the page with the schedule, and there is the link there in the schedule. When you scroll down in the schedule to Sunday at 5:30 p.m., you click the link and you can register. It's open to everyone. It's going to be tomorrow, Spring Day, new beginning day, change day, flowering day. And we will announce the winners. So anybody, more questions?
Nora, I just wanted to say something quickly. It was very nice to be on this panel with my film. And what I was thinking about, well, how do these two things align with each other? The performances, the writing, and the film that we produced, right? And I think it's really, for me as a filmmaker, I'm an artist. So I come to that through the art world. And so I like to make films that have this poetic suggestion, that lay down some truths, but that don't attempt to over-explain those truths, right? And so when I was watching the performance and the theater piece, I thought, this is the alignment where the arts bring idea to the public without being newscasters in a certain way.
Yes.
And so if anyone is out there and a filmmaker or a writer, I really encourage that, because I think it's another way for the public to hear about an issue.
It's very, very important, because I keep saying that with political advocacy, when you stand up and you rally for an idea, it's very easy for people to shut off. If it's not something on their agenda, they will immediately shut off and don't listen, or even make more noise so that your noise is drowned. But I've had this experience with past plays and things that I've done as well. One of them was about the Armenian genocide, which at the time was not recognized by a lot of countries. It's still not recognized by Turkey or Armenia and all that, or United States even. But every time it used to be written in the newspaper, alleged genocide. But in the arts section, there would be a review about the play, which at length and width spoke about it without using the word alleged and just addressing the issue. So through art, you go to the hearts of the people. When you capture the hearts of the people, then they will listen to you. So it's very, very important. So everyone in their own ways, whether you're a writer, a filmmaker, a stage person, an actor, whatever you are, use your art to make the voice heard in a meaningful way that can make the social a change, a difference socially. And we are 2 minutes over, but we're fine, we're fine. Nobody's kicking us out yet. So let me see, Robin is saying something.
Just give people my email if anyone wants it. So,
Robin, great. Thank you, everyone. Art heals and creates a beautiful future for all. Shanti Baker. Thank you, Shanti. Well, okay, I guess I'll wrap it up if we're doing fine like this. And let me just keep an eye on the comments in case somebody comes up last minute. So thank you everyone again for joining in. It was a huge crowd. At some point we had 56 people and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And if everybody doesn't mind, I'm recording this section, the section with the Q&As, because we couldn't record the whole thing, then the films would have been recorded as well. We will post it on our YouTube channel as a testimony of this thing that happened with the NGO CSW. And I thank Huri, I thank Devin, who has been there answering 25,000 emails. It's not an exaggeration. It's, I mean, she's amazing, amazing. Nina says, thank you very much, everyone. And performing that always bring the message across powerful to everyone. Thank you all for being with us. A special thanks to NGO CSW for offering us this platform. Thank you, Valentina. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Samar, Nina, for participating in the discussion, and everyone else who put remarks. The festival is still running on until Tuesday. If you want to catch Robin's film properly with the volume as it should be, please feel free to join in and use your discount code, which I put earlier. I'm going to put it again in case people cannot scroll all the way up. PAR. So, and you place it all the way at the bottom when it's code. And the amounts of the films you have selected will magically turn to 0. You can watch the films. Okay, I hate to say goodbye, but I think it's the time of goodbye. So, bye-bye, everyone.
bye.